the cat. He works on the road with the Cardinals. We're hoping baseball is coming back. We're hoping for 162. I don't know.
You're scaring me with that.
Well, they're scaring me with that. Am I wrong? Baseball?
No, the fact that they're not talking is scary.
No,
you think
it
everyone's
is.
back to work, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get through the holidays. Okay, we're through the holidays. Can we sit at a table and we'll cater it. Whatever you want. Let's get them to the table, at least start talking.
I just always think, we always talk about growing the game, especially baseball. I feel like we've discussed it many times on here. And doing things like this just only continues to hurt Major League Baseball, right? I mean, and if I was the NHL right now, this would be like my chance to shine. You had a fantastic Winter Classic, the Blues with higher viewership. It was a great game, but then they also scheduled another game at the same time, so I don't know why the NHL decided that was a good idea. But still, I feel like this is a chance for the NHL to really shine and push themselves forward while Major League Baseball is just kind of doing literally nothing.
It's a bad line, and they just had some momentum, baseball. It took a while for fans to come back because of the pandemic. I hope they work it out. In politics, Charlie, I know people would say, "Oh, all they're doing is kicking the can down the road."
Not to make it political.
You don't want to kick it down the road, right? You don't want to kick the can down the road. It's not really political. It's just an analogy.
I was kidding.
And in this case, if I'm Major League Baseball and I were advising them, I would say, kick the can down the road. Just get an agreement in place to make sure that nothing is threatened about this season because you have issues with the pandemic. You just got things back on track at the tail end of the season. Things were well. So if there's a time to kick the can down the road for some of the bigger issues, kick it.
Okay. I agree with you in theory. So are you suggesting, I think this is a very interesting conversation now. Are you suggesting you do a 1-year CBA and you kind of say, look, it's weird because usually you're going to hammer that thing out and try to get a 5-year deal?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So you're saying COVID was crazy. Everybody lost revenue in 2020. Mm-hmm. Owners, players came back last year. Limited fans. Okay, everybody's hurting a little bit. Let's figure out 2022 and then get to the big substantive and work on that 5-year CBA.
Yes, and here's why. Okay, you could lose a big portion of your fan base simply based on the fact that still some people are locked down. We don't know what's going to happen with the pandemic. They were. I think people's habits change. It took a while for people to, baseball. Like in St. Louis, it was always put the Cardinal game on, especially if Jim Hayes is on the sidelines. I mean,
sure.
I have positive ratings impact. I can document that. We don't need to vet that.
PRI.
Yeah.
Positive
ratings
Thank you.
Impact.
And that's a big reason why people want. But the point is that was part of the daily ritual, right? Then you have the pandemic. There's a stoppage of everything in America. And then people get out of that habit. Then you get back into that habit, okay? And now we're still dealing with the pandemic, and people need entertainment. They need things to feel normal, right? So let's get baseball back, and then the bigger issues. And I'll be honest, I think we know what some of the issues are. I don't think everyone knows what all the issues are they have to work out. But my point is, for the good of everyone now, the game, for the folks that watch the game, that depend on entertainment, just get something done. So there's a season, if it's possible. We don't know where the pandemic's going, and then address the issues at a later date. I think that would serve everybody, everyone, the fans, the owners, the players.
Now, Jim, I know you like to vet things, so
and
correct
verify.
Me. Yes, vet and verify. So I want you to correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Oh, he will.
He's waiting for this. So, do you think that the owners, Major League Baseball side, is going to make a move first because they know we're getting so close to spring training that it will only hurt the players more if they wait out that spring training? Because we know that matters so much to how they practice, get ready for the season. So do you think that the owner side is just waiting until it gets that much closer to spring training where the players are like, okay, no, we got to get out there for spring training?
I think it could be a tactic. I would vet and verify and say I think that's partially correct, but I think there's so much at stake for everyone. Mm-hmm. The owners, let's face it, have more money because the asset they're sitting on is worth billions. I get that. There's a lot at stake for them too, because they have to concern themselves with the well-being of their sport long term. And for the players, it's money, and also working conditions, and it's their sport too, obviously. They want what's best for the game. There's different views. I think there's so much at stake for both sides that may be a tactic, but I'm hoping that clear thinking will prevail on both sides. And like I said, if there are issues that are going to be debated and tough to settle, for now, kick it down the road. Kick the can.
Well, here's where I am now legitimately worried about missing games in 2022. The thing about kicking it down the road is they've known for, 2 years. There's been talk of a lockout or a strike going back 2 years. This is pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. The players were ticked off about other things like service time manipulation, go back to the Chris Bryant, that grievance. That was before COVID. Then COVID threw a whole monkey wrench into all of this. Everybody lost revenue. But I would think that both sides know the real substantive issues for 2 years. And then here we are. I didn't expect anything to happen during December. Lockout happens. All right, it's the holidays. But let's think about this now. So it's January 6th. Folks usually start reporting around the middle of February. A lot of the players get down there or live down there, but they're down there way earlier. I just don't see spring training starting on time. If they're here in early January, not even talking or scheduling negotiations, and this is where I think both sides, they're not thinking about the health of the game. They're also not thinking about the health of the players. Mm-hmm. It was not a coincidence that there were 1 million injuries last year. Pitching injuries, not just the Cardinals starting rotation. I remember at one time, I'll vet and verify, but at one time, the Tampa Bay Rays had a ridiculous amount, like 13 relievers that were hurt. And that's because baseball is not a sport where you start and you stop. You start spring training. Okay, COVID, you come back up. You work your way back up. The Cardinals are off for 17 days. Jack Flaherty's throwing the ball off the mattress in the hotel room. Go back to last year. Pitching injuries. Guys aren't built up. They didn't throw 175, 200 innings the previous year. Pitching injuries. You're going to do this again? You're going to now have potentially 3 years where you're affected by COVID in a way where it's messing with the season. I think that's awful for the sport, and baseball can't afford to do that. This isn't the NFL. It's not super popular. You're losing people. You're also losing diehards. Yeah. I get sick at the TV situation, right? And all that. Baseball needs to figure it out and make baseball easy to watch for everybody.
Oh, you guys have heard me rant before about when you have to watch ESPN's version of when they cover Major League Baseball games. They will put a full interview on the screen during the game, and I'm like, how is this supposed to help bring in new viewers? You can't even watch the game. What's the point of that?
Unless it's the sideline person doing the interview, then I think it's better. Yes. I think it's better than the game.
Maybe it's just me on this, but I literally only tune in for Jim, right. And then I'm just like, that's it. I don't need to know anything else, right?
Same.
I'm sure they win, lose, who knows?
Let me vet and verify that. True.
It is very true.
See, correcto.
But this is my thoughts. This is why you need to hire, because it's just bad PR right now. It looks bad. Why not at least put a little bit of something out there for fans to get them at least feel okay about this situation instead of just us having to sit around and assume the worst? Because, of course, it's human nature. We are going to sit and assume the worst, that this is going to really drag out. We're not going to have a full season. We're not going to be able to see our favorite players. You need some media people in PR. I always say this because it's just like some former TV people or something like that to really help with the PR, the looks of this, because it just does not look good for baseball.
That they're not even talking.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And everybody, that's all that we know, right?
Yes, and here's a hot take. Now, Kat, some days I don't really have a hot take. Sometimes I kick the ball. I kick the can down the road, and then I actually found a hot take about baseball cards, but now I have a new hot take because it's coming off what Brooke just said. So the commissioner of baseball, he's looked upon, not just Rob Manfred, but historically, he's looked upon as the leader of baseball. And I think a lot of times when you're young, you don't really know what he does. When you get older, you realize, no, he actually works for the owners. Mm-hmm. He represents the league. That person, I know he tries to have a good relationship with the players. It's hard to do that when everybody knows that your job, your pay, is based on your relationship with the owners. I think baseball needs a third-party ambassador type.
Joel Goldberg.
Joel Goldberg, whether it's Theo Epstein, Bob Costas, we always bring up Bob Costas as being a potential commissioner. So it doesn't need to be the commissioner. But in the same way a team is organized now where you have a general manager and a president of baseball operations. But we all know the president of baseball operations is really the chief decision maker. I think baseball should have a legit neutral third party, call him the ambassador of baseball, whether that's Bob Costas, and I want to hear from that guy all the time. And I never want to hear from Rob Manfred because every time Rob Manfred speaks, I think less about baseball.
And don't you say anything negative about him.
And he's going to get rid of you. That's, we talked about that the other day. I threw it out there on YouTube because we had a bunch of questions. It backfired so badly. He did this and got rid of Ken Rosenthal so that he would look better because he wanted to tamp down light criticism. Instead, the entire media world came after him.
Yeah, because Ken Rosenthal is awesome.
He's a pro.
Yeah. But let me ask you this.
Fair.
Let me ask you this, because
I
think your idea is worthy of discussion. But as I think about it, I'm going to put it in your terms.
If it was your idea, you'd love it, though.
Well, hear me out. No, maybe you could talk me back into your corner.
Okay.
All right? I'm going to use your world. Like, let's say you're someone that owned 10 properties, right?
Okay.
Let's say they're multi-unit dwellings, okay? And you're having some problems with, and you own these places, right? And then you're having some problems with the tenants who are unhappy. And I'm not joking around like this is your property. Like,
no, there are always issues.
But let's say you're having, like, the tenants are complaining about maintenance or rent going up, okay? Now, this is a little different because I'm sure there's governmental agencies that oversee this. But for the sake of my argument, put yourself in the owner's position. You own these 10 dwellings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the tenants say, hey, it would be a great idea if you hire a third party who will make decisions for you that own, and then we will abide by what the arbitrator, the third party, rules on some of these issues. As the owner, you would say, no, thank you.
Well, just because you bring up this analogy, you have a property manager. Now, that person does...
He works for you.
Okay, I understand that.
No, I'm talking about the reason why I bring it up is because I'm trying to illustrate how the perspective would be if you spent, $1.9 billion to own a team, and now the future of your sport is going to be decided by a third party. If you were the owner of real estate, would you be happy with a third party deciding, yeah, you can't raise the rent on this unit?
Okay. So when I said third party, to me, this is more of a marketing position. This is about growing the game of baseball. I understand what you said, and I agree with it, but even the owners, even though they want the best deal, I guarantee you when they get in those owner meetings, they're thinking, is Rob Manfred, is he helping us? Like, seriously, is Rob Manfred helping grow the game?
No.
And when you say grow the game, I'm not like, oh, grow the game. That means money. That means growing the game so the owners make more and the players make more. To me, baseball, which is my favorite sport, so every time I talk about baseball, it is from a place of love.
But what you're saying is what Brooke suggested is a marketing advisor. That's a lot different than a third-party arbitrator, right? You're saying, and I agree with that, like, if I don't know that they would listen, but if you had someone saying, hey, maybe this isn't the best, this is going to boomerang on you. Let's not do it this way.
With some media background, to be like, this is exactly what's going to happen. People are not going to side with you, especially after pandemic,
Right, I agree, but that's different than what you were suggesting. So either you take that suggestion off the table, or you say we're going to renovate it here.
No, again, we're renovating, and you're doing what you always do.
I like how we're
fine.
using terms that Charlie will understand.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying.
Wait, I wasn't trying to go after you. We're just discussing it.
I'm joking. I'm kidding. Here's my point, though. We all know that the hammering out of the deal, right? That's not Rob Manfred. That would not be the third-party marketing person. That's lawyers in the room. This is billionaires with millionaires, and they're arguing and negotiating over their share of the pie of billions of dollars. We know that's hammered out in a legit contract by lawyers. What I'm trying to say is that baseball needs somebody speaking in a smart way on behalf of everyone. And I want to hear from that guy all the time, or that gal, whoever it is. If it's somebody like Bob Costas, my point is that I always hear from Rob Manfred. And every time I hear from him, I have a worse feeling about baseball.
You feel like the Darth Vader music should come on.
And I don't hate on commissioners. I'm not the guy. It's fun to boo every commissioner. Some of these commissioners are actually good.
Yeah.
Rob Manfred's been in the game as the commissioner for about 7 or 8 years. He took the job in 2014. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Correct me if I'm wrong. Text line, Bertarelli Cutlery text line, 855-282-8255. What has he done that's positive? And I don't blame commissioners for everything that goes wrong. I don't blame him for COVID, right? If a team has to leave, these are tough decisions. Do you think, my question is more so, and my point is more so, baseball needs somebody during a very difficult time to come out with a positive message. They need to say, yeah, this is tough. We're working, players, owners, everybody wants to get a deal done. Everybody wants to do this for the fans. I don't hear that. Well, I hear Rob Manfred talk, and every time he talks, I think less of the sport.
Just so you know, and this is true, okay, the folks in the room that will be deciding this with lawyers, right now it's not going to be lawyers. There might be a legal counsel in there, but it's a handful of folks from the union and ownership trying to address these issues. And the reason why there's a gag order for teams, every employee can't talk about it, is because they believe, and I think rightfully so, any misstep or mischaracterization about the issues and what's being discussed could wreck the negotiation. That's probably true for the players' union as well. So I don't think having someone kind of talk about the negotiations is going to help. But I do agree that someone with PR experience should have the ear of someone, in the union and on ownership, so that it doesn't come across to fans as badly as it is now. Well, I agree with that, but I don't think you're going to hire, he used to sell used cars, but now he's going to tell you what the state of negotiations. Look, I know the reports on no one's talking, but there's been real progress via the text.
But this is someone
that isn't going to do it.
This is someone like Bob Costas, who loves baseball, and Bob Costas is a pro. Costas. Well, everybody loves Bob Costas.
Oh, of course.
But
I feel like he could tell me the worst news of my life, and I would still be like, thank you, Bob.
He also cares about the sport. This isn't a fanboy for either side. Mm-hmm. This is somebody, we all understand this is a very difficult negotiation.
Oh, yeah. It's just not a good look when you wipe the website of any of the players' names, image, likeness, any of that stuff. We all discover it because it's social media and people notice those things. It looks childish. And that's how it's viewed in people's eyes. And then when you're not addressing it, once again, we assume the worst of the situation. We assume that you're being childish because it's not the players that are taking off their name, image, and likeness. It's the organization.
Because of because with no collective bargaining agreement in place, it's not the owners. I know it comes across as petty, but as I understand it, and I'm not defending ownership, but as I understand it, if you don't have an agreement in place, you can't monetize the players, and that goes for names, likeness. It's not like you're done with it. And yes, it was the owner's move to lock out, but with no agreement in place, I think legally they're not allowed to try to monetize players' likenesses or names because they're not employees. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I think that would be a misinterpretation to say it's out of spite. It's trying to follow the law. But I think the underlying point of it's a terrible look is absolutely true. And you would think both sides would understand this and realize no one's benefiting from fans. Because fans right now are like, it'd be great to have some hot stove news now. There's
something
not a lot going on in sport.
Yeah.
And I agree it's a terrible look, but I think that kind of stuff isn't necessarily out of spite. It's trying to follow the law, but it's a bad look. And I think it's both sides. They should at least be negotiating and talking so that fans have hope that the sport that they love will continue as it has.
I got really excited for one moment yesterday because a serious national Major League Baseball sports writer tweeted out this is what it looks like with the current negotiations. And I was like, oh, no way. There's an update. And then I click on the picture. It was an empty table. And I was just like, there's nothing. There's nothing going on. It just makes you sad.
And the other part is, I don't want people to lie.
No.
But shouldn't you even just for wallpaper purposes shouldn't you just meet so it's not such an awful look? Now, maybe if both sides
even
had
if
said,
you Photoshop people in, I don't know.
Right, but if both sides said, look, we're not even close, and that's probably what's happening. We're not even in the same ballpark. So why are we going to sit down?
Transparency.
And that's fine, because clearly they're not on the same page. But I would almost just for window dressing, put a couple people in a room, and after the holidays, when life returns to normal, say, all right, we're in the room, we're hammering it out. When you hear, hey, a month later, everybody enjoyed Christmas, everybody enjoyed Hanukkah, everybody enjoyed Happy New Year, and oh yeah, by the way, we're still not talking.
And then you have kids getting jerseys of their favorite baseball players, and they're like, oh man, I can't wait to wear this to a game. Well, when is that going to happen? That's sad. That's depressing for a baseball fan.
Tyler got a Goldsmith jersey for Christmas.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, it looks great on him.
So he moved on from Ozuna, because I remember he was a big Ozuna fan.
Yeah, he
we all did.
Yeah, and then Ozuna ran.
Sorry.
Ozuna ran into some issues, and we kind of moved. He loves. I would say Yachty's his favorite. He loves Waino. He loves every card. Every card, like when he plays video games. His baseball team, every card, it's all Cardinals. He loves them all. But I think Goldsmith, Arenado, Yachty, Waino, and he loves Tyler O'Neill because Tyler too. But
well, how can you not?
But yeah, I mean,
it's Bro Neil.
So it's like, Dad, is there going to be baseball? I don't know. I thought you were a sports guy. Yeah, and I do think that once we're closer and there's the threat of losing revenue, we will see action. Like they're smart, and I think the troubling part is why they're on opposite sides. They should be partners because they have the same goal. I mean, they go about it, but they want the sport to be successful because then everybody wins, and they want the fans to have the product that they love, and they want to grow the game. Even though that how they divide everything is the issue. They should be partners in doing what's best for the game, and I think at some point that will come through because they are, whether or not they like it, they're in it together. They are in it together.
That is Jim Hayes. We got Brooke Grimsley, Charlie Marlow, Hot Take Central, 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com. First week, we're clicking on all cylinders, I think.